Proxy, Table Gaming, YouTube, Paired Weapons, podcast, and everyone else fans. I am Hyper G, and I am joined by, well, my usual partner in crime, but I'm going to ignore him for the moment, rudely and or rightly, and I'm going to go straight to the man on the other side of him and go straight to Paired Weapons legend, Mr. MattyP, who is joining me. Welcome to this Masters hype video.
Hey, Hyper G, how you doing, man? Thanks for having me back on.
Really good.
It's great
really
to see you elevated to the position that you have so long yearned for, and in my humble opinion, deserved. You know, since Lucky Sixes did the dirty and qualify for the Masters, I, for one, salute our new overlord.
Well, thank you.
I shall happily toil in your salt mine.
Great. I mean, it is salty, and I mean, we are in very similar positions, aren't we, in terms of, you know, our respective duos. So yeah, we know all about the salt, and
we're always the bridesmaid, aren't we? Eh?
Yeah. You know, we are the knife behind the back, and all that sort of thing. So great. Well, I'm not going to linger on that point too much longer because we have got a Lucky Sixes sandwiched in between us.
I feel surrounded.
And so you should. I mean, it goes without saying, you are a player in the Masters. Congratulations. We'll get to that. I don't want to, increase your skull size too quickly.
It's so big.
Yeah, but this is a big video in terms of the Masters hype train. I think we all agree.
This
I think
is my favorite one.
Yeah, I was about to say it's definitely my favorite of the hype series, and you know, it was starting with a bang, definitely, because this is the who's who of the Masters. Because you can call a tournament the biggest 9th age tournament in the UK and Ireland. You can call any tournament the most exciting or the one that everyone looks forward to. But none of that really matters because it's all about the players in the tournament. And this is probably the most player-focused tournament out there because of the way that they have to qualify. It's not just signing your name on a dotted line or saying I'm available for a certain weekend. It's about playing the game that we love and playing it pretty darn well. And all of the people who are in this tournament have deserved to be where they are. And I can't wait to go through them with you, MattyP, joined by Lucky Sixes because he just couldn't resist being on this video. I tried to get rid of him.
I made a nude overlay just so I could fit 3 people on this bit, just so I could still be here.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to have you tagging along, Lucky Sixes. But I think that was a fantastic opener there, Hyper G. I knew you'd rise to the occasion, so well done, buddy. Straight off the bat, let's race into the boundary, that one. So well done.
Yeah, and as we race, we should race into our guests because it is not just us 3.
No, there are as always, clustering round the candle that is PTG live streaming. We have 2 more gargants of the 9th age, colossi that straddle the 9th age sphere, like the gents and the mighty generals that they are. We're joined first of all by the nicest guy in 9th age. He'll take you off, but you'll have a bloody good time whilst you're being murdered. It is, of course, Rory. Rory, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks. Happy New Year, guys.
Happy New Year. Welcome back on. And of course, joining us again from north of the border, it is Mr. 9th Age himself. Basically, if it's got 9th Age involved in it, Ed's probably been there, seen it, done it, and invented it all. The current reigning master, the captain of Scotland, etc. I'm going to have to stop doing this because I've done it so many times for him now. It's getting embarrassing. So I'm just going to go straight to welcome to Ed Murdoch. How are you, buddy?
Not too bad. Thanks very much. I will say I'm no longer the captain of Team Scotland, and I've handed off as some of my 9th age duties. I'd like to say that means I'll be more focused on winning the Masters. That's probably not true.
I mean, as it goes, Ed, is there anything in 9th age you haven't done? I mean, you're head of background. You've won the Masters in the UK. You've gone to ETC, captained it. Your tick list is pretty good.
Oh, he's on the executive board. He's on ETC boards. You know, he does a lot.
I don't do anything to do with rules because I claim no expertise when it comes to rules or design. And
from the master, by the way.
Yeah, and I have still to win any of the big singles events in the UK, apart from the Masters. Okay. But any of the big attended singles events, I have still to. I don't even think I've podiumed at them. So
still motivation there.
Yeah. Oh, the Scottish Champs. I came second in the Scottish Champs. That was okay. So,
well, in fact, we had Guillaume on the other day. Guillaume, sorry, I was on our podcast the other day, and you and him tied for third place at Bristol, didn't you? At the Bristol Brawl. And he won a sword, didn't he? As a consequence of that, by beating you not on tournament points but on kills. So he has very kindly said he's going to bring the sword up. He said that's no way to win a sword over Ed. So he's bringing the sword up with him. And whoever finishes highest in the Masters is going to be taking that sword home. So there you go, Ed. There's something to play for, not just to a game within a game, eh? Wheels within wheels.
Yeah.
And whatever you do, don't finish on the same amount of points as he does. Because that's just going to endlessly continue this little thing, and no one's ever. I'll take the sword. It's fine.
I think I'll have to bring something to put against that bet at least for that to be fair. So.
Bottle of gin, I suggest.
Yep, noted.
And if you give it to him beforehand, you have a better chance of getting the sword as well. So.
Well, I was actually the reason that Guillaume managed to get all of those points, because I went in thinking, last game, I'm never going to finish on the podium. So I went in all or nothing and got literally nothing, a 20p, and pipped Ed to the podium place.
Oh, mate. Incredible.
It's my favorite tournament outside of Scotland as well, the Bristol tournament, and I've always coveted one of those swords. So
close.
Well,
but now you've got another chance.
Yep, that's true.
Are you going to Art of War in February yet?
I am. Yeah.
So
I'll
chances
be there. Yeah, two chances this
if
year.
If they do swords, I don't know whether they will.
Yeah, I hope so. It's one of my favorite parts about it.
Yeah. So the lethal weapon, absolutely.
Yeah, man. And of course, that was the gauntlet sit down by Guillaume was on the podcast, the Paired Weapons podcast, and there is a plethora, I will say it at least once, of other content throughout the Masters hype train that has begun. We're obviously halfway through it on this who's, but we've had loads of stuff from all over the place, and some new content providers as well on YouTube. They keep coming out the woodwork. And it's fantastic to see. So pause this video, take a look at everything that's on board, and go check out everyone that's putting their hand in to provide you some excellent content throughout the next week or so.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely immediately say MattyP and Kev, you did a great job with the Paired Weapon podcast earlier on. That was a particularly interesting listen. The chemistry between you two is the second to none, and I love it. Great guests on there, and I'm sure our guest today will be just as entertaining.
And, it's Kev and I we've been doing this now over 2 years, so it really doesn't seem like 5 minutes ago. But he's I know he's psyched up for the Masters. I've had a little sneak preview of his list as well. So I won't be giving away any secrets, I'm afraid. But yeah, it is very exciting.
Oh, lovely. And obviously we've got plenty of players to get through, and I think we should crack on with them, starting with no other than the number 1 seed, Mr. Adam Tanker Jones. He's in the stars already in terms of his picture. What a year he's had, boys and girls.
Well, I mean, he's on for the perfect season, isn't he? I mean, that's the dream. He's pitching the perfect game at the moment. Can he close it out? I mean, it's all to play for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone at all would imagine having that kind of record. 400 points is just astonishing. It's almost impossible.
I think it's happened since 9th Age became a thing, right? Like, I've heard rumours that this used to happen more regularly when there were more tournaments prior to 9th Age, back in the game that shall not be named. But I don't think that's actually happened, where one player has actually managed to pick up four tournament wins over the season, which just tells you how dominant he has been over the course of 2022.
Yeah, not only that, it's 4 out of 7. It's not 4 out of all of them. It's 4 out of only 7 attended, which is still a very respectable number. But 4 out of 7, very, very impressive.
I'm pretty sure, and we'll see from tomorrow's Road to Masters. But I'm pretty sure there's another couple of podiums in there as well.
Exactly.
It's not like he had some lucky ones and some mid tables. He's really pumping them out this year.
Definitely, and I think we're starting with the number 1 rank, but I mean, heavy favourite, or is that not possible when it gets to the big Masters?
We should speak to the reigning champion, really.
Oh, indeed.
Is he your number 1?
I think it depends how he goes about this. He's kind of talked around this a bit and suggested he'll bring a bunch of different lists. I think it will depend what tanker we see come at it. It will be a different context to the other tournaments because certainly the thing that I found at Masters and what made the biggest difference was in the year that I won, I think there was 120 in the entire tournament.
Right.
And I scored it. And that was such a big difference to almost every other tournament where you would expect
against Craig Johnson.
Yes. In a skewed matchup, I got quite fortunate at times and took a big win. But you expect there to be a certain percentage of games that will result in 20 zeros, and those tend to throw all the calculations out of whack. And that doesn't. At least certainly it was the case last year, and I think it's the case most years that there are much less of those in the Masters, and that will potentially shape how the games are played. So potentially it will be a slightly different approach that we see from Tanka. But yes, he's a fantastic player, and if he brings his A game to it, then he'll be the one to stop.
I mean, you say different approach. We've seen that in the armies used, Dread Elves and Warriors. Do you think different approach in terms of not one of those two?
I think Dread Elves are more meta dependent. I think they can suffer more when people bring armies that are well suited to countering them. So I'll be interested to see if Tanka doubles down on the Dread Elves, which he's had good results with, or if he sticks with Warriors, which are tried, tested, and I would say a little bit more versatile.
I mean, that Warriors list of his with the double wretched ones. That's what, taken it to 3 tournaments. It is won all 3 tournaments. Is that right? That sounds right, doesn't it? Or
he certainly won. He won Cardiff twice with it, didn't he? Certainly.
Yeah.
It's a very simple concept, but like a lot of good plans, it's simple and it works. I mean, it's wretched ones just shove up in the middle. Alchemy on Warriors works very well, and whilst you're trying to shift the wretched ones, he's coming in from flanks with Chosen Knights. That's a pretty decent plan.
Yeah, man. And I know that he's been tinkering with both of those ones, and I think with Tanka, it is very much. I think he's taking it serious this year. He's got the perfect 400.
That's always the question. Yeah. Is he taking it serious?
For sure. He's got the 400, I think if he can get any sort of moral high ground on Craig, it's by winning the Masters this year after a perfect year. That I think that could push him to take this very seriously. Maybe not drink as well.
No.
Who knows?
Well, maybe that's the key ingredient. Maybe if he doesn't drink, is that going to be a weakness?
Go down. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tanka always there and thereabouts. But perhaps
and good luck.
Perhaps the real star of the show comes next.
The reigning master.
Master. Ed getting to 8 tournaments this year as well. Sort of second. I think that's second most out of everyone. So
I have to say, 370 points. I mean, let's just applaud that as well, because that is incredible. I mean, well done, Ed. I mean, you're here for me to
the only podium once I got 370 points is just ridiculously consistent.
Yeah,
Just ridiculous.
It was a good year for sure. I mean, it all looks a little bit pale when you compare it to Tanka's for first places, but no, it was
about that, man. That's exceptional, right? But like in any given year, that's like you haven't finished lower than 6 in any of the big tournaments.
No, it was a good year, and I did take the opportunity to try out a bit of difference, try out a few different armies and a few different lists. I also got absolutely smashed apart using ogres in a team event, so it's not all been roses.
Yeah, so we see the armies used this year. That's not in the specific tournaments that were above, but you're getting about 4 tournaments, 4 armies. That's pretty good in a year.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the Masters. Having won the Masters, not having to worry about qualification kind of frees you up a little bit to do some alternative things. But I still used demons quite heavily to keep up practice for ETC and things. So they've still been my best results, I think.
Ed, I'm not going to lie. I just heard that is. Seeing as I qualified for Masters, I just use other armies to smash people into the dirt because I'm just that much of a master.
In different ways.
I am the master. I can master all the races.
Army swap, tick.
Try and stop me. Yeah.
I think every time I used another army, I did significantly worse. So I definitely wouldn't claim any moral high ground.
I've said this on a previous. I can't remember if it was the podcast or or another one. But taking Highborn Elves to a UB tournament, and your Highborn Elves list specifically was a flying list, right?
It was.
Hey, we don't talk about this.
Where
it was a 7 or 8 flyer list.
7 or 8 flyers where there is a round in the tournament that flyers can't fly.
Yeah.
That is ballsy.
I wasn't.
That is
for the
ballsy.
record. For the record, I wasn't supposed to be in the tournament. I was just helping out. Okay. The fact that I achieved 0 points against Ed's flying not able to fly list is immaterial. Move on.
But yeah, I liked the brashness of that. If I'm honest, I thought that was quite. That's really putting it on the table.
It turns out flying's overrated, really.
Yeah.
You had a couple of eagles, right, as well. They're like moving.
They won the game. Their fleeing was just insane.
Insane. But yeah, quality year, Ed. A very good year after winning the Masters as well. I know you said that I can play around and things, but pretty consistent year in terms of that. So.
And also one of the unpredictable, army choices. Who knows what you're going to take? And actually, I was going to throw a quote at you, Ed, from last year's Who's Who video. A certain Hugh Scarlin has been known to say 1 year ago that Ed has a DL army, and we all know how bent DL are. He said that before the Masters tournament last year.
Well, he obviously called it.
Yeah, Rory, you're the only other guest on, really, if we discount Lucky Sixes. Is there any quote? What do you think Ed is going to bring, and are you going to be as accurate as Hugh was?
Yeah, I think Ed wants to win back-to-back Masters because that is a thing, right? Like Craig's obviously done it, but it's a thing. So I reckon he'll bring Demon Legions, especially given that he said that all of his best results have come using Demon Legions, right? So I don't think he'll be trying to give anyone the eyes on that one.
Fair enough. There you go. You've got a few hours there. Change it now. No.
just if nothing else, the moral high ground, right? Congratulations on number 2 seed. Pretty consistent. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Goes us on to the next combatant, Jake Courtine, and
he's not stuck in Italy this year.
No, right? Hasn't got a.
Well, at least not as far as I know.
But yeah, a couple of wins. Got the Massacre one early doors, and then with the teams event as well. A special shout out goes out to him, Jake, for the breakthrough event. He took ID for that, but he took ID with no magic. That's pretty good.
Yeah, nice. That's pretty good. Yeah.
So trying out different lists. I know he's going more aggressive recently, but what do we think to Jake's chances in the Masters?
Well, I mean, obviously, you alluded to that breakthrough list, that ID no magic list, which was under the remit of the captain at the time, Felix. He was sort of looking, I believe, to push an aggressive setup, and that's not necessarily what Jacob's noted for, but clearly he can do it. So what we've got here is a very, very flexible player who knows what he's doing. He's going to take ID. I'm absolutely sure of it, and I think he's there and thereabouts. I think he'll definitely be one of the contenders come the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jake's just one of those guys that can, if you switch off for just a second, he's beating you. So I think I've never had the pleasure of playing him, but I've seen him in action. Actually, while we're talking about in action, is that photo photoshopped in any way, or has he genuinely ridden the merry-go-round and done that?
No, absolutely. that was at one of the tournaments, actually.
Oh, sure. Superb.
But yeah, no. To be fair, he sent me about 3 pictures, and he was like, "Choose whatever you want." He's very good. He's very good at sending me pics. Not like that, right?
Yeah, we don't want to know, mate.
I chose the other one with the clothes on. Yeah,
I think it's probably true. Like Jake's going to be there or thereabouts. He's probably either going to be top 5 or bottom 5. Actually, I would suggest, right? I think that he's very methodical in what he does. But if he tries something with his list, which Jake does quite regularly, he doesn't sort of just pick one list and then riff off it for a long period of time. He regularly sort of jumps around between different builds, trying to test everything in the book. And if he just gets the wrong one that goes up against the meta in a small tournament, I think you can end up finishing getting punished for that, right? Because it's just the number of people who are going means that the meta is very likely to skew one way or the other.
And this could potentially be, we've said that we're pretty sure it'll be ID. It could be the hat trick of ID for the last 3 Masters for Jake, potentially.
Yeah. And I think ID is a challenging play as well, because ID have a lot of great strengths, but closing out games and taking high point values, particularly if your opponent doesn't commit against you, is a real challenge with ID. Jake does it well, but I think it's definitely a kind of slight additional challenge that he's taken on by picking ID as his main army, which had he settled on another book, he may well have scored even higher than he did.
I think given that there's probably going to be a lot of Sylvans and a lot of KOE at the Masters, he might struggle to even more so to get across and make the big wins. But equally, if you're not winning big, you're probably not losing big either. So, 16 points will, 15, 16 points in a game, very doable with with secondary and a couple of lucky spells and what have you.
It's interesting though, going what Ed said earlier, right? If there's a very few big wins and you've got an army that doesn't get big wins, the ability to at least have an army that, if the opportunity presents itself, you do get a big win, can make all the difference in a tournament like this as well. Yeah. And so if you're, I think Vampires, which ironically is the other army that Jake's used this year, I'm guessing it would have been.
It was in one of the online 5K events, yeah.
Yeah, and they also struggle in that way, don't they? In order to sort of get big wins, unless unless your opponent makes silly mistakes. And so I wonder if that kind of plays against him. If you're looking for that, that 120 or that 119 to sort of, pull ahead of the pack at the key moment.
Yeah, possibly. But although the Masters record only goes back so many years, he is a previous Master as well, so we shouldn't discount that from his repertoire. But yeah, certainly he's going to know his army inside out, and most armies. Does sticking to one army for so long struggle for the army swap round? Do you think that might be a tricky one for him?
Some people definitely suffer in the army swap round when they're specialists in a particular army. I definitely saw that last year. Tom Clues, I think, struggled with the Demons army to get to grips with it, being an experienced Warriors player. So, but I think Jake spends a lot of time looking at other books. Even if he hasn't played them, he'll be well familiar with the rules and how they play. So I wouldn't expect that to be a concern for Jake.
Fair enough. And
reminds me of one time when Ryan Amiri played in Masters and got to the army swap round, and he ended up playing, I think, Craig and his Sylvan Elves, and he's like, I didn't know what to do, so I just ended up waiting in a forest to die, because he had only played KOE until then. Ironically, he's now got a Sylvan Elf army, so maybe he quite enjoyed being buried in the trees.
He saw some potential. Speaking of Sylvan Elves, good luck, Jake. we move on to Josh Burns, who is another of those that sticks with their armies very much so. He's a very, very much a specialist in Sylvan Elves, and has had a pretty good year as well. Like exceptionally, especially for probably his best year, I think, rankings wise.
I think in terms of anyone, Josh has probably been the bullet train of 9th Age, hasn't he? Because he's sort of been around and about for a little while, and then all of a sudden he's just gone rocketing to the top, and rightly so, because he's just nailed it in so many ways. And
look at that being record as well.
Yeah,
right? Art of War 7th, English Champ 6th, Cardiff 5th, and then Breakthrough 3rd. He's only moving in one direction.
He's getting better. He's getting better. He's coming, and that is in
chronological
order as well. So yeah, for sure, he's maybe he's going through one of those coaching things where he's peaking at the right time. He's looking for cycles, right?
Yeah.
He's going for the peak. But yeah, no, certainly. It got to Masters last year, finished 16th. Again, only way up from there, but definitely from his point of view, will be aiming much higher than that this year.
Very much.
And I think I also think that you know, with Wild Riders being all the rage at the moment, he's had a lot of experience with playing with lots of them. I think that could put him in a good position. Equally, I think a lot of people are going to be anticipating a lot of Wild Riders. So, you know, is it going to be a busted flush, or is he going to bluff his way through? It could go either way for Josh.
It's a funny year for Sylvans because having, you know, again going back to the last year's Who's Who video, Sylvans were being talked about last year as, especially in regards to Josh, that Sylvans were being mentioned as, are Sylvans able to compete at the Masters? And this year, it's almost completely changed because everyone's saying, well, Wild Riders, woo, you know, get them in.
Yeah.
And you know, Josh, maybe it could be his time.
Double or triple buffs, didn't they, over the course of the last cycle of updates? And interestingly, I think even with the most recent one, I think everyone was surprised that Wild Riders didn't get a points hike, right? You know, so everyone's gone, oh, right, okay.
I can still fit 27 in. Yes.
Yeah. You don't need 27.
No, you don't.
You don't need 27. I think 6 of Artems, took off a full unit of 9 questing knights.
Yeah.
Like that's
one and the rest.
Yeah. Oh, and he had paired weapons. He didn't even have light lancers.
But I mean, I guess just by mentioning Wild Riders, we are certainly doing the Sylvan Elves a disjustice because they have plenty of other tools from range as well.
Josh is one of their tools. You know, if anyone can make Sylvans work, it's definitely Josh, and a thoroughly nice chap as well. Not that
yes, and a purveyor of crab apples as well. So the appetizers and crack and rum. Crikey, that's something he introduced me to. He's got a lot to answer for.
Absolutely, and Josh, we wish you the best of luck after a very, very, very good year. Now on to someone else who's doing well and rising up the 9th Age ranks, I guess, kind of being New England captain, Hugh Scarlett.
Yeah, congratulations, Hugh, on the new appointment. Obviously, looking forward to your captaincy year. It's going to be an interesting one. I mean, last year Hugh did come into Masters rank number 1. Obviously, this year ranked number 5, but I don't think there's a lot of difference. Well, maybe those ranked above might disagree, but you know, it's again talking about momentum though. Winner of last brawl, you know, that's a good place to be.
Well, you know, Hugh is a very, very solid player. He's noted for the huge amount of work he puts into it. He never off of UB, and you know, works extremely hard at his craft, and it shows, doesn't it? I mean, he's very, very consistent. It'd be quite interesting to see whether he goes with KOE. I think he might, but you know, obviously he's been playing other armies this year. But you know, I think there's some question as to what he's going to go with at the Masters.
Yeah, any thought on that? We'll go to the Master first. I'm going to call you that. That's brilliant.
I would be unsure. I think between Demons, Saurians, and KOE, I think there are 3 armies that each have arguments and justifications of why he could pick them. Saurians are a little bit more developed than they were at the last brawl. People are a little bit more used to them, but there's still a lot of ground to be, still a lot of room to take advantage of the new rules, and just some of the setups are quite strong and quite different to what's come before. So I couldn't say for certain. I wouldn't even predict with any real likelihood of getting it right what he would pick this year.
Yeah, and Rory, what's your experience with you? You played him much this year?
No, that's because he's got better and I haven't. So so now he's at the very top tables, whereas when me and him used to play, we always used to finish sort of between 15th and 25th. And so I've got like a little better and he's got a lot better.
Sure.
I would, yeah, it's interesting. I'm gutted I missed the last ball because I'd have liked to speak to him about Saurians. I've actually played them once or twice, I think, at Breakthrough, and I really liked it. Right, I really like the book, and I think it probably just decides whether or not he wants to continue to develop that and decides that's what he's going to take to ETC, or if he wants to stick with the tried and tested. I think it would be a real curveball to see him use KOE, just because he hasn't all year. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what he brings, and as you say, whatever he brings, he's going to have considered what the meta is likely to be and then built a list that's most likely to be able to deal with it. So is it going to be smash face or is it going to be standoffish?
Yeah, well, as Hyper-G sort of alluded to, he said that Demon Legions were completely broken last year, and that's why Ed took them. And then he took KOE.
Oh, so, no, he didn't say that. He didn't say that was why Ed took them. Don't put words in my mouth that I didn't say. All that
I'm
said.
just quoting you.
No, not quite. But yeah, all right.
But yeah, so I mean, he literally could go either way. But yeah, certainly a good player. And I mean, we're talking about people's records: 5, 5, 6, 1, and then in the Masters 4th, 4th, 7th. I believe the one before that year he finished 4th as well. Yes. I mean, Mr. Consistent, right? He just needs to get over that edge and actually get mastered, and he's can really lord it over people.
I mean, what a beginning to his run into Team England captain it would be if he could crown himself the master as well. That'd be a statement, wouldn't it?
But, yeah, certainly.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, good luck, Hugh.
Just on that, guys. I think from these 5. Just because of the way people have dropped out elsewhere, I think this is where you're likely to see the favourites for the win, right?
Sure.
With no disrespect to everyone else, and I include myself and you in that lucky sixes. I think that the rest of us are here to try and if we finish in the top 5, we're all very happy. But I think these 5 almost come in thinking, right, we've got a shot here. We're looking for podiums and potentially a win.
Well, I mean, excluding MattyP's dark horse of the year. Of course. Who is, for people that don't know?
Mr. Tony Hale.
Yeah.
We'll get to him. We will get to him. One other thing as well, Rory, you say that the top 5 are the favourites, and I don't necessarily disagree. But one interesting thing about this Masters lineup is that the 5 that we've already spoken about, there's only 7 who have been in the Masters before, and 5 of them we've already talked about. So, I mean, that's quite intriguing in itself. Less than half have actually been it. You are one of them, Rory.
Yeah, so, I know.
You are one of those. Yeah. So you can't throw yourself in with the other.
Now, what are you talking about?
Just that quickly.
What's then funny about that is me and Josh have both been in 1, and we've both finished bottom in our own Masters. So you've actually only had 5 people who haven't finished bottom in the Masters.
Well, there you go.
All right.
Stats, eh? Absolutely. But no, yeah, good luck, Hugh. On to the best of the rest then, according to that. Artem, who has another Sylvan player, another specialist in that, and has had some pretty good results, a couple of second places and stuff. Good player and ETC Ukraine represent.
Yeah, I mean, second at the Masters Open. I mean, that there's not many better ways to start your rankings year than, well, other than finishing first in the Masters Open. That's a pretty good start to your rankings event of the year, isn't it? So yeah, not bad, and it certainly hasn't gone badly after that either. 9th ranking, very respectable.
Yeah, I don't know an awful lot about Artem, but obviously with the Sylvans, am I right in thinking that he plays a less of an aggressive list and more of a sort of a standoff shooty sort of Sylvan setup, or is he more wild riders?
First half of the year, he basically played I'm going to look for turn 1, be in your deployment zone, drop a forest, teleport war dancers into your face, and then put 2 units of Kestrel Knights either side. So you either charge the war dancers and get stuck and then get countercharged, or you stand off and you get countercharged. That was his tactic. Yeah. I think at least 2 of us on here, he's done that too, right?
Yeah. I completely got done by it. after doing a list review and I'm talking about the list and how we play. So I think that's worth a medal in itself, right?
Yeah. But I think he's dropped that list because that was very much looking forward to ETC. He's dropped that list, so I'm interested to see what angle he's going to go down, especially given the new book. I mean, I remember talking to him back from one of the tournaments where we shared a car, and he was telling me that he's like, my favorite time of the year is when they drop the new books to see what new filth you can bring.
Yeah, right.
So it'd be really interesting to see what he's going to do with his Sylvan Elves.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone can find a Yankee move, surely this would be our candidate, wouldn't it? Based on what he's done this year with the Sylvans. I mean, I was alongside Lucky Sixes for that battle report. I saw the tears rolling down around his cheeks, so I know the pain that Artem can cause people.
It was I forget what it's called. It's like mirror, something mirror. But it's that point when you do your deployment. You go, yeah, all right, I'm pretty. And he goes, okay, and he walks around the tables to your side of the table, and he puts, and you're like, "What are you doing? What are you doing there?"
Yeah, why?
And you're like, "Oh god." But yeah, no, certainly, and I think Kestrel Knight seemed to be one of his things as well. That's one of his, but with the Sylvans being so good at the minute, and him being one of the specialists there, I think anything could come.
But is this well, this is our first opportunity to talk about it with a person who hasn't been in the Masters. Is the spotlight of the Masters going to nullify all of that? You know, will not necessarily Artem, he's just the first person who hasn't been there that we're talking about, but is that inexperience at the Masters going to be a big factor? I suppose I'd go to you guys, Ed and Rory, who have been at the Masters. You know, you said, Rory, about your first year. You finished 16th, but this is the next one. Is that going to be a thing for all these new players?
So I think for some of the new players, it might be. I wonder if Artem's just an experienced 9th-ager, right? You know, I mean, he might be the first, I think last year or 2021, at the end of 2021, was the first time we saw him in the UK, but he just moved here. But I think he's an experienced 9th-ager, been to many ETCs. He's probably also not in a bad way, just not as plugged into the community, right? He goes to every single tournament. That's what he said to me. He's like, basically, I'm here with work, and so I go to every single tournament. And so I suspect that he'll probably be maybe a little bit less awed by the occasion than certainly I was the first time I went. And actually, to some degree, I feel that might be true for a lot of the other people, especially people who are massively plugged into the community, right? Who are involved in it, because, you know, you get the sense that everyone's watching. But only sometimes.
The good thing for those people, and I'll chime in because I feel like I'm the guy, we can't all finish 16th. So that's
you wait. Battle. Join 16th. You can share the source.
It is definitely a step up in the intensity of the tournament, because in most tournaments there's a sort of path where your first couple of games, you don't really mind too much. Maybe you get a big win, maybe you get a rough round, and then over time that settles out. And then games 3, 4, 5, that's where you really determine the winners of the tournament. Sometimes in the Masters that can turn on games that happen in round 2. You're not necessarily coming in with quite the same expectation of tournament trajectory, and that does change things a bit. And I've certainly felt that the first year I didn't necessarily. I sort of approached it as any other tournament, and potentially I suffered a little bit as a result of that. So it remains to be seen whether other people will deal with it better.
Yeah, fair play. And good luck, Artem. On to our next candidate, and one very, very close to MattyP's heart. Kev, and I will never get sick of that photo. He did send me another one this year, but I said, no, it's not better than this one, so you can't have it.
Yeah.
Oh, dear. Honestly, has he got no shame?
You know what? Of all the things about that picture, and you know, no clothes or whatever, what on earth that liquid is, etc. It's the eyes to me that do it. He's enjoying it, and
you're always all about the eyes, though. Like
it's the fact that he's telling you to be quiet because he knows you're enjoying it.
Yeah. Just enjoying the moment. Just enjoying the moment, and we will enjoy the moment of his fantastic record. Got into the Masters only going to 4 tournaments, so a lot of them up to now have been going to sort of 7, 8 sort of tournaments. 4 tournaments this year, doing the bare minimum, and 3rd Masters in a row. This guy's, I mean, all joking aside, he's a serious contender this year.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most experienced, possibly because the field is less experienced, but still experienced, you'd say. And will it be? Oh, come on, Matty. Is it Mr. and Mrs. Mino or not? Just give us a yes or no
answer. Absolutely no comment. I've been sworn to secrecy, and if there's one thing that I can still cling to with dignity, it's keeping a secret. But I mean, Kev has just he's just risen like some sort of just epic phoenix, hasn't he? I mean, a couple of years ago he was down with me, gudgeon bashing on the canal, picking up scraps, and now look at him. I mean, I think he's got an outside chance. I don't think he's in that top 5, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not a contender for a podium finish. I think he's got it in him. I really do.
Yeah, agreed. Have you guys fought against Kev much on the table?
I mean, I've played Kev many times, between Team Scotland and tournaments and playing online. We've played each other a lot of times. The only thing that will count against Kev is that the Mino builds have changed somewhat with changes to the core Magic books and things. That doesn't mean that he can't find new builds. There are plenty of builds out there, but it means that the list that he's favored most has unfortunately been changed around him, so he'll have to find a new avenue to take.
Yeah, I think he'll bring KOE, right? I mean, that's my instinct. I think he'll bring KOE. I know that. I played him at I want to say Breakthrough, and we had a bit of a KOE off, and it went in his favor. And I think he really enjoyed being back on them again. They're finally fully painted as well, which I think he's happy with the state of them. I mean, that's one thing that I've always loved about Kev, is that he's like, yeah, I've got this army, but it's not quite ready. And you look at it, you're like, it's already like 100 times better than anything I could do. And, and he'll point out some small details that he's not 100% satisfied with, so he won't bring them to the table. And you've got to respect someone who loves that side of the hobby as much as he does the competitive side, right? And so so I think he'll bring KOE, and one of the many, undoubtedly.
Well, I hope he does, because then you can talk about your horse hour, MattyP. As
you know, I do enjoy that. So it's I think the one thing I can disclose now is that whichever army he brings, it will be a contender for best painted. How about that? So
spoiler.
Hang on a second. Let's just see who else is here. Chris Bond and Jake Courtine are probably the only other two that have won best painted.
Let's be fair. Tanker's going to pull out the bag this year just to screw Craig over, right? Absolutely, no dipping whatsoever. But yeah, no, Kev. I mean, he's a big part of the Masters scene now. Has been there, done that, and needs to win the T-shirt. And I think that I've got a sneaky feeling he will get very, very close to that podium. And I wish him all the best.
And if he does get the T-shirt, then maybe he'll put it on his photo next year.
Yeah, well, maybe
do us all a favour.
Yeah, well, yeah. For our sakes, let's hope he doesn't get the T-shirt. Right, in that regard. But moving on, Luke Williams, the classic UD player, actually, genuinely, but he has played Vampires again in one of the online tournaments. So undead, shall we say?
Another full tournament qualifier as well, which is very good to see.
Yeah. Apart from Massacre, which was a online one, mainly the second half of the year, English Championships was April, was it maybe? And then they didn't come out till September, October. So just a solid solid result kind of guy, though. So always there or thereabouts in the Masters, and perhaps is fairly experienced and has done well with UD.
A very thoughtful player, I think, Luke, and you know, a fellow member of ETC Team Wales. So props for that, and quite possibly the last UD player on Earth, isn't he?
I think so.
I said to him recently. I saw him at one of the tournaments second half of the year, and I said to him, I was like, "Luke, you're the only guy I know that doesn't play for months on end and then rocks up and you get a podium, right? You know, just rocks up, plays the same list that he's been playing for years with the same army, right? A few tweaks around the edges, maybe on the magic items, and he just gets a podium. And, and no one else does that. Like, other people might not play regularly and get podiums, but, you know, they change their list, make sure they follow the meta. You know, I know exactly what Luke's going to bring in his army because he brings 90% of it to every single tournament. Right?
Yeah, right.
You
know? It's just how many skeletons?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's quite an interesting point, actually, Rory. You know, that he's because he's going to be he's obviously going to be coming with UD, isn't he? So, you know, I mean, how's that going to play into the meta? Because people just aren't used to playing it anymore. You know, the Chariot Star is so sort of 2018, isn't it? But now it's you know, could it catch people out?
Yeah.
It's all pre-COVID, man. No one remembers, right?
Yeah. And a bit of a tweak to the ambush, although it's not too much now because of the hotfix. But yeah, UD has certainly has some tricks or some differences from the update as well. So that'll be quite interesting to see what Luke deems worthy of his list, really.
That's a react for the Undying Dynasties, isn't it?
Yeah, so Luke's I've got two of them. I'm going to go with Luke because I like him and he's a member of Team Wales as well. But Luke's my dark horse for podium.
Nice.
Yeah.
No, fair play, and good luck, Luke, for the rest. On to this is a very good picture, and this is very.
Yeah,
he means business. Wes.
He really does.
Yeah, right. I don't know whether he's bringing that to the tournament, but we'll see. If he does, maybe we have Guillaume versus him in a sword off. It's like until Ed gets his hands on the that's true.
On the sword,
yeah,
potentially
Ed can play the winner, right? But yeah, no, Wes, a specialist of the KOE in that regard. First Masters and a solid.
Is he the youngster of the group? I haven't looked at the ages actually, but possibly, 26. Good.
They're definitely one of the youngest.
Yeah. I don't know if that's a stat. We'll have to we'll have to get the archives out and check the age qualifiers, won't we?
He was born after I graduated from university.
Oh dear! Don't look too closely, Matty.
No, don't set Grandad off again.
Oh, in my time,
I do quite like when you so Wes being 26, right? I vividly remember the year he was born, right? So he's going to be born in 1996. I vividly remember that, right? Euro 96, Gaza, actively remember that. And I'm like, yeah, that's definitely when you know you're old, right? It's when you can remember the year that people were born.
Oh dear. Yeah.
But then he has played a bit of Ninth Age too.
I mean, Wes is our rocket, isn't he? He's come from essentially from sort of Ninth Age nowhere to play every tournament there's been this year.
He's played 9 of 13, which is actually the most of any player. I think only possibly Josh has got to as many.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's certainly leading it in that front.
Yeah, and he's coming on leaps and bounds, isn't he? I mean, we talked earlier about peaking at the right time. I mean, he just keeps getting better and better and better. And as from the podcast the other night, he knows the rules. And crikey me, that's important. That's really important. It's I don't think he's a top 5 finisher, but I do think he's going to do better than perhaps than people think. I think he's really coming on. He's a very, very good young player, and of course ETC England as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, although he did mention on the podcast that he does have a little inkling that the army swap might be a tricky round for him, having specialised with KOE so long and only really played dwarfs before that. So
Well, with the number of KOE players there, he might just get lucky and go into a mirror, right? You know, so.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, this might be a good time to mention it, Ed, and Tom, Lucky Sixes as well. How much is the army swap causing you problems in your plans, or none at all? Let's go Lucky Sixes first. Why not?
I hadn't thought about it until now.
Rubbish.
No. I mean, I don't know. I'm lucky enough to have 6 armies, and you have
Proxy
6
table
armies,
gaming.
and we've played lots of things. That doesn't mean I know any of the armies that I play, but it does mean I've played some of them, so I'll have some sort of background to go on.
Just everyone take vermins.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, sure. If they do, well, that's it. I'll offer you the 19 because you don't do 20s at Masters, right? But that'd be. But yes, no, I haven't really thought about too much other than I'll probably be all right.
Sure. Ed, I mean, you're a seasoned player, but the army swap, surely that doesn't concern you in the slightest.
I don't generally plan for the army swap.
Sure.
You know, I still build the list to be as strong as it can be. There's nothing else really in my head. When the lists come out, that's the point at which I'll look at all of them and I'll start thinking about how would I play my list with those lists. It's really just part of evaluating the lists once they're available anyway. So you're just doing a bit of reverse psychology at the time and thinking, okay, this is where my list is strong, this is where my list is weak. But it is always a bit of a gamble. Sometimes you get lucky. I got fairly lucky one year in that I swapped KOE for Orcs and Goblins of both armies I played. Another time I got Warriors. I feel like I know Warriors reasonably well. That didn't feel too much of a system shock. If I'm given Vermin Swarm...
right?
Sorry?
That's Warriors, right?
Yeah.
Not push, go. That's the warrior mantra.
Yeah. If I'm given Vermin Swarm or I'm given new Saurian Ancients, that might be a bit more of a struggle. If I'm given Kieran's army, I might not have finished putting it on the table by the end of the 3 hours.
Yeah. I mean, that's actually an argument for Q bringing Saurians, right? It's like, not only will I know them and you won't, but it comes the army swap round, you guys are screwed.
I think it's interesting looking down there. I don't see anybody who's likely to bring Vamps. I only see one person who's likely to bring Vermin. And they, I think, probably, correct me if I'm wrong, would be the sorts of lists you don't want if you're not a specialist. And therefore, there's one gigantic landmine out there. I don't think anybody really wants that.
I reckon UD's another one, right? I reckon Luke's UDs and it falls into that category as well, right? You know, they're still having to be within sort of like a general bubble in order to march for most of your army, that sort of thing, you know, making sure people don't get round your back. I think there is I mean, myself, I genuinely actually forgotten that we'd had an army swap round, but I suppose a bit like yourself, Lucky Sixes, I play enough armies, I have enough armies that should be all right.
Yeah.
And if it's not, I might, if I get an army I don't have, might buy a new one.
Yeah. Right. So Wes might look out for it and struggle with it, but you know, if he does get KOE, he should be on for a good one and doing well. But we will go on to you, Mr. Rory Stoves.
Oh, there he is.
There's the people's eyebrow.
You do that,
yeah, and another stalwart of Team Wales as well. Great to have you on the team, mate. I didn't know you were applying this year. It was a real treat to see your name on the list there. So I'm looking forward to the summer.
My grandma's Welsh, so it was and I was ended up just having a chat with Ollie at one of the tournaments, and he was saying he was captain and he was looking for Welsh nationals, and I said, "Oh, I'm Welsh." She was like, "Oh, you should apply." I was like, "All right." So we did.
Brilliant.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
So Ed, we'll go to you to trash talk Rory. How do you think he's going to get on?
I don't know when the last time we played Rory.
Ages ago, mate. Before you got good, right? So
yeah, it probably was. Yeah, it's a long time back. So I feel like I'll just be observing really, because we haven't really come across each other on a table anytime recently. I think last time possibly we were both playing Orcs and Goblins, or certainly I think you were playing Orcs and Goblins.
I think we've definitely had multiple Orc and Goblins offs.
Yeah.
I don't think either of us will be bringing Orcs and Goblins this year.
That is probably true. Probably true.
Although we both might bring them next year if we qualify, right? So
yeah.
With a new book around the corner, right? You know,
yeah.
Well, interesting. This video will come out after the draw has been made, so we could be saying this, and then technically, you know, maybe you've been drawn to face each other around one. You never know.
So, with Orcs.
Can you imagine? You both swerved each other.
Double bluff.
Yeah.
Super.
But no,
Please do that.
I mean, some good results and a mix of armies, which is, I think, a really valuable thing, because not only does it give you preparation for the army swap round, but it also gives you insight into other armies, and those are two of the most popular armies that are likely to be at the Masters. So I think that's a really good place to start from.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know that I said on one of the other podcasts, Rory, that I really enjoyed our KOE off in Art of War, which is definitely to this day the longest deployment I've ever had, as we did a 1-for-1 for about 40 minutes, and it was the most tactical deployment I've ever done. The rest of the game just sort of like whose pegs were better, but otherwise it was a really, really fun game. And 16th from your last one, looking to up that this time around?
Yeah, it's weird because it was online. I almost don't consider it to have happened.
Yeah.
I mean, besides the fact that like I felt like everyone watching my first game against Craig as well. Like that, I think I spoke to you, mate. I don't think I slept properly for 2 nights after that.
I'll never forget that those Wild Riders not getting in on that Phoenix.
Man,
I'll never forget that.
So, but yeah, so I'm actually just quite looking forward to sort of going in person. I can probably say it now because I've qualified. I made like a pathway for myself earlier in the year. I was like, I want to go to Masters this year.
Yeah.
Right. And after I think I had a couple of decent performances, and I was like, oh, I've got a shot. And so I kind of like, it was kind of like my ambition. I was like Masters and ETC. And then after that, like, I think I'm probably the oldest, maybe the second oldest in the group. And then maybe to move away slightly from the competitive scene. So this could be like I'll obviously still go to tournaments. I love MattyP far too much.
We can't lose your Rory.
It could be the last time that I play regularly.
Speaking of tournaments, you also got 9 as well as Wes. So you certainly a man of the tournaments and man of the community. And that probably, this will sound really cheesy now, but it probably goes further than the tournaments as well. Because I know we did our Road to Masters and we had all the things there. But you run quite a lot of one-dayers that aren't necessarily ranked and things. So you're very much one that brings new people into the community and does all that.
It's super exciting, man. We've actually got, since New Year's, we're on the 5th, we've had an extra 3 people have sort of dropped in and like over Christmas and New Year saying that they're quite interested in sort of getting some games. I've actually got someone coming to their first tournament on one day in Reading. It's sort of at in April as well, you know. So I think that side of the game I've always loved, and I think like that's the part that, you know, I end up getting a bit of a competitive bug. But yeah, that's the side of the game I'll always love and will continue to do. So I do love the one-dayers, man. They're easy to run.
and I've yet to meet someone that says a bad word against you. So I'm looking forward to the sea of red that comes over you and during the Masters, just to completely flip it on everyone.
That'd be exciting to see. Yeah.
It's going to happen when I play staff, right? That's going to be the
well, if it's at the Masters, then I'm doing something right.
Yeah,
so
never played them. I've played the rest of you, so I'm sure I'll just save it all for you, Steph.
It's great. I'll look forward to it.
Just a table flip.
Yeah.
But yeah, decent
Good
year
luck.
as well. 7th at Cardiff Open, 10th at Clash. Some good results. And coming in at 15th, was there any point that you were sweating that you might not get through? Because it was the top 14.
When I finished 15th.
I
was like, one spot out.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably worth mentioning because we are now getting to the territory where we are looking at people who technically obviously have finished outside the top 14 and 2 qualifiers. And I mean, obviously, I was going to be asking this to Lucky Sixes as well, but Rory, you're the first person that this probably affected the most. This year, we have had a few people outside the top 14 qualifying due to dropouts. Does that change any kind of feeling going into the Masters? And that's not a leading question anyway. Genuinely, how do you feel in that position?
Yeah, it's interesting. So first to sort of Tom's point, I think I was like, motherfucker, for about an hour, and then Tom Clues messaged me and said, I can't make it. You've got my spot, mate. which was really nice of him. So I was like, all right, sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think what I like is you've got lots of new names there, right? And there is I've definitely got a sense that in the British Ninth Age scene, there is a bit of a changing of the guard, right? You know, if you think like Ollie, Fraz, and Hugh, all first-time captains, right, across the three home nations. You know, James is still relatively new captain over in Ireland. I think this is his 3rd year in total. You know, so I think there is a bit of a change of the guard, and that's being reflected in Masters. And yeah, so there's a few dropouts for some of us to have got in there, but even without that, you'll have seen there's at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 combined have been to like a handful of Masters between, right? You know, so I from a scene perspective, I think that's a good thing. You know, getting more people in there. I'm sure there'll be people who will have other things to say about that, you know. And in terms of building my list now, man, I'm just, you know, going to take something bent and just ruffle stomp them into the floor, you know.
With the cigar.
I will say, just in terms of the people who are coming, like every year there's always dropouts. I think last year was maybe the only year that there weren't dropouts, and that's a very unlikely circumstance. It shouldn't take away from anyone's sense of achievement that getting to the Masters because someone else didn't choose to go. I mean, if you look at the lineup, everyone's in the top 20. You're not talking about someone from 50th place who's being asked to step in and fill the gaps. You know, these are still people who've done very well.
Although I would if they asked me.
Yeah, nothing wrong with 49th, I'll have you know.
But yeah, these are people who've had a very...
There's good players that finish below these people as well, right? You know, it doesn't take long to sort of look down this and see that there's actually good players further down the list and people who are going to ETC this year as well, you know. So I think that's a really good point, Ed, you know, like dropouts happen, right? You know, it's not like we're going down to, you know, number 100 or something. And this is effectively the top 20, right? So
and speaking of someone overjoyed at dropouts, onto the rank 16th player, myself.
What a chump!
It's unbelievable.
I mean, group hug here, guys. Well done, Lucky Sixes. You know,
bravo, mate. Bravo.
I think you've worked harder than you will ever admit to improve your game.
I painted like 3 models. Pretty good. Pretty good year.
No, I think, you know, I'll probably try and speak as little as possible about it. But what I will say is, you know, you fully deserved place at the Masters. I think your game's really come on in the last year or so. And, you know, I think it's been coming. I know you won't ever admit to that, but I think it's been coming. And, you know, I think you could have quite easily finished a lot higher than 16th in the rankings had a couple of things gone your way when they didn't and whatnot. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you can do. I will miss you terribly at the commentary booth.
No, I know.
But
I might commentate just because while I'm going.
Yeah, at the table. You know,
I don't know if any of you follow cricket, but Shane Warne once commented that he was going to bowl someone round his legs and then bowled him round his legs. So you should do that. Right? He'd be like, I'm just going to make this double 6 charge.
Yeah. Oh, I can't believe he's going for it. Oh, he's got
it. Yeah, no, I you know, Lucky Sixes, you're the hardest working man in Ninth Age. You've come miles and miles, and you know, and it's you're like the proverbial duck, aren't you? You seem serene, but we know you're grafting underneath. So it's. I was delighted to see that you're in the Masters and also in the England ETC team. So you know, what a year! What a year!
No, but and 2023 should be good. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, very much so.
So go on over to you, Lucky Sixes. Come on, give us your speech going into the Masters.
I'd like to thank.
How are you feeling?
No, buzzing. Very after covering it for 2 years. And sort of looking and speaking to so many of the players and things, although we sort of do that in tournaments anyway. It's really nice to be a part of it and to play these guys. Actually, a decent amount of these guys I haven't played much as well, like not regularly. So it'd be really nice to play against them and get at least 2 points somewhere.
If they're feeling generous,
yeah, right,
yeah. But I mean, we've spoken about it with other people as we've gone down the rankings and the names. You've used 4 different armies this year. I mean, does that give you a bit of a mysterious edge going into it and potentially an advantage because people don't really know what you're going to take? There's 4 different armies listed there. You've taken them to 4 different tournaments, and who knows what you're going to bring? I mean, maybe I do, but right. I'm sworn to secrecy as well.
For a long time, though, I was in that same boat. I think that one of the things with playing multiple armies and like regularly, because I went to 5 different tournaments, took 4 armies, right? Is I kind of like all of them. So when the update came out, and my armies in particular, with VC getting the massive change, it did. Warriors chosen in particular getting cheaper, and then High Elves getting some extra units. I was like, this is Wonderland. I can just choose anything. But it also meant I could choose anything, so I haven't really got other things. So it was quite nice to see, and hopefully I'll turn some heads with the list.
I'm sure.
Yeah, it should be.
You're going to bring some filthy VC new characters bullshit.
Me?
That's what you're going to bring. Because not only will that be really cool, because some of their new vampires are awesome.
Yeah.
But also, as previously mentioned, it will really mess with people in the army swap round.
Yeah, that's
so. It's like 2 reasons to do it.
Yeah, that would be very, very fun.
So let me ask Ed, Rory, how do you rate Lucky Six's chances?
It's interesting. Sorry, no, go on, Ed.
No, I was going to say I really don't know. I mean, it's interesting that I think the beginning of the year, your name popped up at Art of War, and people were like, "Oh, it's jumping on the KOE bandwagon," and that's obviously blown out of the water because you haven't stuck just with KOE, you haven't used a single army, and you haven't, warriors and highborns and vampires are not chasing the meta, so none of that holds up. You just had a really strong year, so I think what I would say is just enjoy it. It's going to be a fun event. It's going to be a bunch of players that are there. Yes, some people will take it competitively and seriously to varying extents, but it's still going to be a fun event. And you can put too much pressure on yourself to get a certain result. I think last year my aim was to come in the top half, and
So aim for top half is what you're telling me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even do that, mate. Right? I think and I say this with my whole 1 year's of experience of going to Masters, but it's probably even more true for this tournament than for any other tournament. Just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Because you can't just pick and choose when you come. You don't know when the next time you're going to be here is. Right. So I would just make sure you come along and you have a good time. And having played you enough, I know that, like me, you having a good time isn't dependent on you winning, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's really,
all right. You beat me, fine.
I mean, you've beaten me in the past as well, there, right? But but I think I think that's a really big thing with it, because it is special to get an invite to this.
Yeah.
Come along, enjoy it, and and then who knows? Literally anything could happen, right? You might roll nothing but 6s all weekend, for all the good stuff.
Right.
All the bad stuff, right?
Discipline, right? The one time. But yeah, no. And like a duck, I'm as calm as you like here, but writing notes practically under where the camera can see. But yeah, no.
We're trying to see the reflection in the picture above Ed's head of what army has been writing out, aren't you?
Getting a read. But no, yeah, I'm going to do exactly that. Have a fun time, and hopefully we'll have some really good games to show and stuff like that as well. But moving on to the next list, and this is Ed's rival. Mr. Goom. This was another one that sent me about 18 pictures, and I honestly couldn't choose. It probably isn't the best one. The best one is him licking a unicorn, but I won't go into that much more because we might be taken off the air.
Especially as he gave you a backstory paragraph to go with it, which is X-rated. But like you say, we won't go into that.
The amount of expletives the Spanish know. It's incredible. But Guillaume, an ID and fellow DL man, Mr. Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's more experienced with DL than I am. He's spent more time with it. I think I've probably had more tournaments with DL more recently, but that doesn't take away from the fact that he has a background in it. He knows how they play. And last time we were at the same tournament, I think we might have overlapped at some of the other events actually, but certainly at Art of War it was a runoff between us in the last game that I came second in. So, you know, I'm surprised he hasn't been to Masters previously, and I suspect that's more to do with him not making that many tournaments than it is because of his results.
I actually think it's because my Masters record doesn't go back that far. I think the last couple before that, he's come 8th, I think, because he said that's what he's going for because that's what he's finished before. So I think he might have gone to it, but not for a while, and for those reasons exactly.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I know he very much had things to say on the Paired Weapons podcast, didn't he, Matty?
He certainly did. I mean, he's obviously a very intelligent guy, and let's face it, he comes out of the Spanish paddock, doesn't he? And they know a thing or two about Ninth Age. So I imagine he'll be going with demons as well. But yeah, I mean, he could be an interesting wild card. Let's face it, depending on how drunk he gets, he could be.
He'll have a good day one. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, he's a gin enthusiast, great bloke, and he could be a bit of a wrecking ball.
He has threatened 175 soccer boy, hasn't he? So
he has. Yeah.
We could be seeing that.
And I think as well, like going almost more than anyone, like it is literally on the day, right? I mean, you just have a look at his record, right? You look at everyone else, their record, it's fairly consistent. He's gone, from finishing 3rd to finishing in the bottom half, right? And I think that's the thing with him. I've learned more things where Guim's done tricks against me than probably against anyone else on this list, and I've remembered them all, right? And there's so many.
And now you're going to go through them one by one. I think he's on top of all of that. He's just a great bloke, right? He plays the game in the right way, and I'm sure that he will. He was my other tip for the dark horse, him and Luke. I wasn't sure which one, but I went with Luke for Team Wales reasons.
Yeah, sure. One I've never played him, and I would certainly. This is one of the people, especially that I would love to play at a Masters because I think it'd be a really, really fun game. So good luck, Guillermo Nicolau. And I will never say that again. Tony, my second favourite picture of the.
Oh, it's a good one.
Of the lot, we'll go straight to you, MattyP. Your dark horse. Let's give us some reasons why.
Oh, my boy. Oh, the dark horse of 2023, Tony Howell. Like Tony and I go back years and years and years. And what's he doing at the Masters? I'm absolutely delighted for him and his tribe. How he manages to pack Ninth Age in amongst, dealing with his he's got about 15 kids. I do not know how he does it.
He's like Game of Thrones.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows. He's a superb bloke, and do you know what? He's a bloody good player as well. And like yourself, Rory, one of the nicest guys on the circuit. It's impossible to have a bad game against Tony. So whenever you end up playing him, he's a super guy. Really interesting to see what he's going to take. I've got a funny feeling he's going to go with the Warriors, but he could be anything. He could even take Empire, and I tell you what, Empire would throw a spanner in this.
Absolutely, yeah. That's one army we haven't mentioned yet, but in the army swap, that would throw me completely.
Yeah. I mean, Tony, if anyone has a catchphrase, Tony might be a candidate for it because his catchphrase is very much "I'm just a nice guy," and I mean, it's not inaccurate. And could he be the nice guy who turns into the master potentially?
Yeah, I mean he's an underrated player, and I think underrated by himself more than anyone. Yeah. He has got the ability to beat anybody on his day, and if he does it 6 times in a row, so 5 times in a row, well, the king is dead. Long live the king, isn't it?
Of course, and Matty, we can give Paul a ring and complete the trio of duos that have got one qualifier for the Masters and one non-qualifier.
All right, go have your beers and your soft sobs somewhere else, guys. For the Masters.
All right.
Hey, Hyper G, me, you, and Paul should form a club, shouldn't we? We should. Tour the Southern States of America.
We already have. Don't tell anyone. Yeah.
The Masters Wives Club.
We could be like the Wags, couldn't we?
That's got a ring to it. I like it.
On a yacht out in the Durham Harbour.
Yeah, too right. Let's do it.
Yeah, and as as you've mentioned, Tony's underrated, but getting fifth at Breakthrough is certainly the right time of year as well to do it, heading into the Masters. But probably, as you say, between Warriors and Demons, but you know, it could be sitting atop that throne once again.
It certainly could
in a few weeks' time.
Yeah.
Good luck, Tony. And yes, and we'll see what you can do. The last of the ranked competitors, Chris Bond. He's the one on the right of the picture, as you can see there.
Thanks for clarifying.
No, yeah, needs to be so. I played him a few times. Took me off with his frogs, his little froggy naiads, up at Cardiff Open where he got second. So yeah, possibly known for some strange lists as well.
And four different armies. Sorry,
yeah, very varied selection of armies that he plays and has played.
Prolific painter, builder, and creator of armies. Like I actually know he's working on another one now, and I won't mention it just in case he decides to bring it and surprise everyone. But he's got another. He's sending pictures in the London group chat of his latest project, and he just builds prolifically, and paints quality. And his KOE, and his pink dwarves are just stunning.
Yeah, I couldn't help but be in awe of the beautifully painted frogs that killed my elves.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that tourney record, I mean, obviously, the fact that you've qualified for Masters is a good record in itself, but it's not a fantastic start of the four ones that he's got the highest points rankings in. Obviously, Cardiff Open is where a lot of the points have come from. But, in terms of the Masters Open and Art of War, it wasn't the best start to a rankings year, was it?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to know what races he took to which armies as well. So
I believe it was Masters Open was Sylvan Elves, Art of War was UD, English Championships was KOE, and Cardiff was KOE. The other two places he went to, he got dwarves. He actually won a tournament that didn't count for the tourney record, interestingly, because he went to the Bristol one-dayer.
One day played me in the last game. He got 19 against me in the last game.
There we go. But that
gyro bombers went nuts
because it was one day and the amount of players, and it worked out at 49 points. So it just wasn't in because of his Masters Open ranking points wise. But he had won a tournament, and that was with dwarves, I believe.
It was with dwarves, yeah.
So
MSU dwarves. It was,
they definitely get a welcome mention on his player card. But yeah, for good reason. So yeah, it really does know all the armies. Perhaps one that's not going to be swayed by the army swap.
Yeah,
definitely worth playing with armies because then you might be able to adapt to it, certainly.
And I know, like, he was obviously on Team ETC for England last year as well to KOE there. So he's been to ETC regularly in the past as well. He represented Wales before that. So a very, very good player, which I suppose just goes to show how good the field and how deep the field goes with good players, right? I think he is likely to finish in the top half.
Yeah, totally. And good luck to him. A funny guy as well. I really enjoyed our game. We had a good laugh when we played. So good luck to Bondi. And now on to very, very special people, because they are auto qualifications. In a nice way.
Keep digging.
Auto qualifications, and didn't go to 4 tournaments, both of these. And the first one of these is the again, the one on the right, Kieran Dunn. He is ETC Ireland. He's not. He's not the captain. Just James, isn't it? But yeah, won the English Championships. Smack. You were in the. Which, I mean, you're not English.
No, he beat Kevin the last game, didn't he? I remember watching it. It was a hell of a game. I mean, Kieran is a very, very good player with a book behind him that I still reckon is totally bent. So, he's unless the border guards are on strike and don't let him in the country, I think he's a pretty decent shout, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
Hasn't Kieran done this before, guys? Didn't he qualify for the US Masters by going to the US, playing in one tournament, winning it, and then got, because for them it's any tournament that you win, you qualify. Yeah. So I'm sure he's got form of sort of bringing his armies across borders, right?
He did that, yeah, and I think he probably did a pretty similar thing as happened at the English Champs, where he brought a list that nobody was prepared for, and it just caused all sorts of problems for lots and lots of people. And so, it's a sort of similar idea to what Kerr has done, coming over from Denmark in the past and winning the English Championships with VC. It's a list that doesn't fit the doesn't appear regularly in the meta, but in its right place and at the right time and with the right person behind it, suddenly it presents an absolute nightmare for everyone.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, they finished third in the team championships, Ireland did, and then he won the English championship. So, and a regular ETC player. So he's definitely going to come around, and he'll be looking for a podium, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm told actually that the English championships has a habit of not having English winners as well, which I find quite funny, and gets most controversy, of course. But yeah. No, it should be good. A player I've never played as well, so that'd be really interesting. I hope we come up against him, kind of, because it's Vermin. So,
well, that's the thing. Is there any doubt it's going to be Vermin? There you go. There you go. The master speaks.
Not even a little bit.
No. Yeah, I mean, is that an issue? I mean, with the army swap or going against it? I mean, we've spoken about the army swap already, but just playing against it, everyone says they hate Vermin, right? We're definitely going to have a Vermin in the Masters.
Yeah, and I've got literally no idea what the book does, right?
Yeah,
genuinely have no idea.
And I think even if he just in a vacuum only knew vermin swarms in the army swap, he would still be better off.
Because he's playing against it,
because he knows how to take him down.
Yeah, so
he'll probably be able to spot how badly you're playing it very quickly and hone in on it. So
he's also a very experienced player. He's been to ETC for many years. He knows exactly what he's doing. He's faced against every other army. He's not going to be caught out by much in the way of the game. So I would expect him to do very well. I think it will come down to what exact form of Vermin Swarm he takes and just how well it feeds into the meta of the Masters.
Yeah, and good luck. I hope I don't play you in the arm swap. Dan Minto now, and going on to players. This is my dark horse because I think it would be such a story if the guy turned up to one tournament, not any others, and then won the Masters. I think that would be truly, truly wonderful to see.
Yeah,
that would be quite cool, wouldn't it? I mean, bada bing, bada boom, learn from a pro, turn up to one game and then take out the Masters, and then presumably quit afterwards and never play again.
Has anyone heard from Dan since the Scottish Championships? Do we know if he actually... I mean, obviously he accepted the invite to Masters, so he must still be there, but he is a real person, right?
He is. He has home field advantage as well, being from the Durham Raiders club. So this is home ground for him. Maybe that's an advantage. But yeah, he has the fortunate. It was fortunate for me that he won the tournament, and then I didn't have to feel bad about doing too well in my own event.
In your own tournament,
I know that pain, Ed. I won my own tournament this year with like a bunch of people who had never played the game before as well. It was like the most impressive thing ever.
Did you Rocky it?
No, I even said to my last opponent, remind me halfway through the game if it's going too well that I cannot win this tournament. And he actually had to do that at some point. He's like, you can't win this tournament. So I still did. I was just like, very, very embarrassing.
But he rocked up to Scottish Champs in what was a pretty good field. There's some really good players who came to that event, and he brought a Sylvan Elf list that at the time I don't think was particularly high in the meta. I think he brought a dragon list, if I remember right. And yeah, he just smashed it. So, you know, you got to give respect.
Scottish Champs last year, was it the best attended Scottish Champs that you've had? Certainly the best attended you've had for a while, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, no, it was
in person. The one in thing had like 60 odd or something.
Yeah, the online one might have crept above, but each in-person event has grown each year. So this was the best attended one yet. So it was a significant achievement, I think, to win that.
I'm well up for playing, Dan. No, so I think there's 3 people on there haven't played, and 2 of them play Sylvan Elves.
Oh, nice. Nice. But good luck, Dan. I say I am definitely rooting for you in that regard for the story. But good luck to all the players. And that takes us to the end of the player cards and wonderful. I think Kev still takes it with the picture. I think, Matty.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's no question. It burns my eyes to see it every year, but yeah, it's true story that Lucky Sixes. Yeah.
I would say it's mainly just this picture, but I am wearing nothing on the bottom half. So yeah, maybe I'm like a secret contender, but
you can go back to being a player on this video now. We'll dismiss you from hosting duties. Be quiet now. So thank you to the 3 players who joined us for this video, not just 2. MattyP, are you suitably hyped now? I mean, we know who's who. It's just all hype from here, right?
Well, the gates of the arena have been thrown open, haven't they? In come the 16 gladiators. Who's going to leave? Who's going to be the champion in 23? It's going to be an absolute sensation. This one, the hype train is well and truly out of platform 1 and on its way. Do you know what? I don't think I can call this. There's some. I think there's some strong contenders, but there's an awful lot of players out there that we don't know a lot about, and it could go to one of them. You know, I've got my boy Tony out there, but you know, I would not at all be surprised if someone if in a couple of weeks' time we're not sitting here going, "Wow, I didn't see that coming."
Yeah, or maybe, you know, maybe one of those top 5 that we spoke about. You know, maybe one of them will do it, and people will just say, "Well, that was just bound to happen." You know, it could literally go either way. You know, that's the beauty of the Masters, isn't it? And why we're all so excited. I mean, I'm definitely just can't wait for it to begin now.
Are you excited to get up there and get the broadcasting underway?
Yes,
jump in the broadcast ban.
Yeah, I mean, we're very much hopeful that the Wi-Fi will allow us to do what we want to do. We will disclaimer that one just in case. But you know, fingers crossed we can get the live streaming going. Matt's been brilliant in terms of prepping us for what will happen on the day, and yeah, we're going to head up there and see what we can do. And I mean, you know, even if I just end up being a cheerleader for my man Lucky Sixes, I'll still enjoy my weekend. So yeah, I can't wait. And yeah, I'm not sure how much I'll be able to stand behind him and, you know, cheer him on literally during the battles. But we'll see. Hopefully I'll be on the live streaming desk with yourself instead, Matty. So there we go.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait.
So I'll go Lucky Sixes. Who's going to win? I know you're rooting for Dan, but who's going to win?
Me.
Straight, quick answer. You. Good man. Right. No, move on. Ed, who's going to win?
Yeah, obviously I'm going to take it for the second year in a row.
Fine. Rory, anyone else or yourself? You've got to say yourself.
I don't think I'm going to win. I'm going to go with Tanker. I'm going to go with Tanker. He's going to have the perfect year.
Of course, yeah. I mean, that would be another story in itself, wouldn't it? Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you win it, then you'll be a double master, which obviously Craig's done before, but that would be, you know, another feat achieved. And if Tanker does it, it's the perfect season. And we've mentioned Craig a few times, who obviously isn't there this year for his own reasons. Would it tempt him back, do you think, if these stories were achieved, to try and prevent things like that from happening? Who knows?
But more importantly, Ed, you might win the sword back.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's on offer, that's really my main target.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's so many stories to tell, and I can't wait to be alongside you, Matty, to help unravel them all. And Matty, you mentioned it on the Paired Weapons podcast, that we've got a few international guests joining us, hopefully, for the event as well.
We do. Yes, we do. We have a real stellar cast, actually. Calling in from Vancouver In Canada, we got James Root calling in from California. We've got Henry Grieg, aka Johnny Crass. We've got Angus Sturt Bray calling in from Brisbane in Queensland, Australia, and from the North Island of New Zealand, we've got captain of the ETC team from the land of the long white cloud. We've got Ryan Simister as well. Plus, we've got an absolute UK noob as well. One of my mates from the Northwest Gaming Centre with his fantastic name, Abdul Cade Pemberton. So I can't wait to get Kid out there as well and get him chatting. It's going to be epic, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've also got Mr. Essence, Veil of the Ages, Pataglio, hopefully dropping in, and a few others, no doubt, as well, who will join us on the commentary desk. Fingers crossed we can get that up and running. So yeah, we are literally days away now. I know Lucky Sixes is eagerly watching that clock and urging me to finish up because he does like a good even number for the end of his video. So I guess, I'm going to go to you, Lucky Sixes. This is my first proper role as host for any kind of Masters activity. How are we doing? Anything I haven't said?
I think you've covered it fantastically and will continue to do so on, as I've just shown, all of the schedule and everything we've got. And I leave the seat in very, very capable hands. But I do have to
go
say,
off and win the Masters.
Yeah,
now,
exactly. Boy. Right. That's we'll do that for the channel. But I do have to say thank you very much, everybody, for your time. I know, especially now, you're doing this instead of prepping, so I really appreciate that. Or maybe this is prep. I don't know. But no, thank you, the Master Ed Murdoch, for coming on.
Thanks very much for having me. Thanks for all the hype and the coverage, and also shout out to Matt Wilson for organising the Masters and doing a great job of it as well.
Yeah, totally, and we'll definitely be hooking up with him on the weekend. And thank you, all round nice guy and community man, Rory Stoves.
He's muted at the moment. He's
so nice that he's muting himself. So he doesn't have to...
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks' time. I'm sure we'll find a good curry house in Durham as well for Saturday night flavours.
Yeah, obligatory, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that takes us to the end of this hype video. Thank you, HyperG and MattyP, for having me on.
Yeah, you can go off and think about what you might put in a list now, can't you? We've got a few hours left until deadline, so yeah, we'll dismiss you for it. No, Matty, brilliant. Thank you for joining me, coping with the fact that you've got a different host alongside you.
Mate, it's a pleasure. Both of you are pros, so it's a seamless transition.
We'll see about that. But with you alongside me, nothing can go wrong. So there you go. So yes, thank you, everybody. Thank you again to our guests. Thank you to all the viewers. You are the reason why we want to do this coverage. Let's be honest. If it wasn't for all the fantastic support that you guys give us to the channel, and likewise to the Paired Weapons podcast and all the other pods and YouTube channels out there, you guys are the reason why we want to give the coverage and make 9th Age more of a thing, and enjoy as we enjoy the ride, because we've got some really fun few days to come. Cannot wait to share it all with you. So yeah, we will end this video there. Thank you once again, and Lucky Sixes for the end words.
See you later.